Nelson, and I'm a nutritional therapy practitioner and the founder of Fuel 21, which is a nutrition program. Probiotics are vital to a healthy gut, and they are actually the little bacteria and microorganisms that live in your gut. And they're actually, you've got millions of bacteria in your entire body, some good and some bad. And probiotics basically come in and are the good bacteria that we do want in our intestine and in our gut. Whenever we have an overrun of bad bacteria, we start to see disease happen, and if you take a probiotic, you can actually prevent that from happening. They'll take over the bad guys and prevent them from multiplying. You also need probiotics because it helps you absorb nutrients from the food that you're eating. So if you don't have any good gut bacteria, probiotics in your intestinal lining, then any nutrient-dense food that you're eating, you're not actually absorbing it. And so you can become deficient just because of the bad bacteria in the gut. Other things, if you suffer from eczema or acne or bloating, IBS, colitis, all of these things that can be actually prevented by taking a good probiotic. Now, you can get probiotics from supplementation, or you can have use fermented foods, which is going to be your best source. And this is going to be homemade fermented things like sauerkraut and vegetables. You'll get a good dose just by having like a spoonful a day of helpful bacteria. If you don't want to go the fermented food route, then what we recommend is a supplement. So you're going to get that in a powdered form or a pill form. And all of this can be beneficial, but you do want to go for a quality probiotic. And wherever you're at, get a recommendation from your holistic nutritionist or a reference from a local pharmacy possibly, or your local health food store. And one other thing I want to add is if you have been on antibiotics or several bouts of antibiotics, what an antibiotic does is actually kills all the good bacteria and all the bad bacteria. And so when you're on antibiotics, it's a great idea to up your probiotic intake. And then after you get off antibiotics, you definitely want to increase so that you replenish your storage of good bacteria, because nothing's left in there, and then you can't absorb any of the food that you're eating again. And then one other thing is if you suffer from yeast infections, a lot of women can sometimes have this problem, and what's happening is the balance is off between the bacteria. So in order to regain that balance, a probiotic is necessary. So if you are one of those women that suffers from yeast infections quite often, I would highly encourage you to increase your probiotic intake. Okay, so there's a few superfoods that women can start to add into their diet or make sure that it's a big source of their diet. The first one I'm going to talk about is sea salt. And sea salt is probably the most undervalued food item that we have in our culture. Our ancient ancestors, they knew that sea salt was just as important as gold and prized it about the same. Sea salt has healing properties and also allows for a very good high amount of mineral absorption. Some of the key things with sea salt is hydration, the first one. As a whole, we are chronically dehydrated, and we have a lot of different drinks that we have. Diuretics from coffee, alcohol, teas, juices, and we're not drinking enough water. And even if the water that we are drinking, it's just going through us more or less, so we're not absorbing enough of it. This is where sea salt comes in, and adding a few granules of sea salt to two of your glasses of water a day is going to help you absorb that water and keep the water in the cell. And if you have water in the cells, it basically keeps the blood pressure down. So if you're one of those people that has high blood pressure, it might be because you don't have sea salt in your diet, and two, you're not hydrated. So try those two things and see what happens to your blood pressure. That's kind of could be one fix. The next thing is a strong antihistamine. So if you suffer from asthma, or if you have mucus in the lungs, it can clean that out. And it's also an antiseptic. Sea salt is great for anti-stress. So if you feel like you're anxious all the time, sea salt can actually help with that. And sleep regulation. So sleep regulation, as women, I think we all go to bed with the list. And we lay there and we're like, I didn't do this, I didn't do that. And you're going over all this stuff and you have problems going to sleep and calming yourself down. So sea salt is actually a natural hypnotic. If you drink one big glass of water and then put a few granules of sea salt on your tongue and just let it sit there as you're falling to sleep, you'll go to sleep and be able to calm down and be able to sleep the entire night through. So if you suffer from not being able to fall asleep very easily, give it a try and see if it works. And then the last thing is, and I mentioned this before, is minerals. So if you collect sea salt from all around the world, you're going to get a variety of minerals. And this is really beneficial because we end up being mineral deficient most of the time because we don't get enough from our soil. So sea salt is also going to help with that. So our next food we're going to talk about is eggs. And eggs are a great dietary food that you can add in on pretty much every single day, every other day, and there's numerous benefits. But the first thing we want to talk about is the quality of your egg. And something that I want people to realize is that if you eat something consistently every single week or every single day, you always want to get the highest quality possible. So if you're getting a low quality repeatedly and you're eating that every single day, you're getting low quality every single day. So we want to hammer in that we get high quality. With eggs, you want to look for free-range, antibiotic, hormone-free. So basically, eggs are going to come from chickens that got to be in pastures and eat a natural diet, not a soy diet, not a grain diet, and not a corn diet. So they're going to be eating worms and bugs and other grub. And the egg will actually look really different. You're going to have an orange yolk versus a yellow one. And it's going to seem very sturdy. So those are some key things that you can look for. Eggs have great amount of protein, and protein is essential for building our body, building our muscles. It also keeps us our immune system up. And with a high protein diet or a moderate amount of protein in the diet, you can keep the immune system going. Next thing is we have vitamins A, D, and folic acid, which are very essential for women's health. You're going to get that from eating the yolk, so you don't want to take the yolk out because that has actually all the good stuff in it. The next thing is adrenal building minerals. So we have choline, sodium, and potassium. And I'm going to touch on why it's important to have adrenal building minerals in your diet in just a few minutes. Another thing is rich source of phosphorus and sulfur, which is also vital for women's health. And then one big thing is it enhances vision. So if you know anybody that may be at risk or suffers from macular degeneration, you should encourage them to increase their egg consumption, and they might see a reversal in macular degeneration, or they actually might prevent it from even happening in the first place. Last but not least, eggs are very nourishing for mothers and infants. So it contains biotin, which is a necessary B vitamin that can prevent birth defects. So infants can have eggs. It should be almost the very first animal food that infants have, and that should be about 6 months or older. So the next one is healthy fats. And healthy fat in the diet is crucial for women. Many different reasons for having fat in the diet. One of the main ones is it allows the absorption of our fat-soluble vitamins A, D, E, and K. So if you are eating a low-fat diet, but yet you're getting A, D, and E, and K from other sources, you're not actually able to absorb them. So you're going to possibly become deficient in those main vitamins. Another main characteristic of fat is that it satisfies us. So fat is kind of the trigger in the brain that tells us when we're full. So if you're eating a low-fat diet, high-carbohydrate diet, not getting enough fat, you might eat a meal and then feel hungry like an hour later because you didn't get enough satisfaction from the meal you just ate. And fat, if you eat it during your meal, your brain will actually tell you to stop eating and that you have enough energy for the remainder of the day. It boosts your immune system, and fat has natural healing properties, especially a fat like coconut oil. That's a great option to use. And it also reduces inflammation. So some key fats to use are coconut oil, ghee, which is a lactose-free fat option, butter, but we want grass-fed raw butter. It's excellent for healing properties. It's actually very similar to coconut oil. And olive oil is also going to be a great option, a high quality olive oil. And then don't forget fat from the meat that you're eating. So if you're eating grass-fed, high quality meats, the fat that you're getting from those meats is actually going to probably be enough to satisfy you. Okay, so next we're going to talk about adrenal glands and nutrition specifically for the adrenal glands and why that's important for women. Whenever we are young teenage girls and we hit puberty, before puberty actually, we are relying on our adrenal glands. Once we hit puberty and we start our cycles, our adrenals don't work anymore. They're not needed during that time. So we go 20 or 30 years or 40 years, and then we hit menopause. And at menopause, this is when our adrenal glands are supposed to kick in again and fire. And what happens is that over that 20 to 40 year period where we're between hitting puberty and menopause, our adrenals aren't supposed to be used that often, but instead our lifestyle makes them work pretty much every single day. So this could be stress from running around town and making sure everyone is on the right page, feeding your family, work, it could be traveling, it could be diet. All these different things make your adrenal glands work all the time. And their basic role for you is the fight or flight response. So if you're going to get up quickly and run from something, your adrenal glands are what kicks in and fires and allows you the ability to do that. The problem is that when they are firing constantly because we're always in chronic stress state, they get taxed. And by the time we get to menopause, they're not working, and then we have this really imbalanced hormonal response going on and regulation going on. So in the meantime, we want to make sure that we're giving our adrenals as much good food as possible, as well as looking at our lifestyle factors. But today, just on the nutrition side of it, we're going to look at some foods that are going to be beneficial.
So your adrenals need certain nutrient-dense foods to produce a hormone called epinephrine. If we don't have these certain foods or nutrients, then it doesn't produce the epinephrine, and then the adrenals aren't happy. When thinking of that. Three things that we need: vitamin C, vitamin E, and vitamin B. You can get vitamin C from oranges and strawberries. That's a really high-dense food source. You can also get it from other fruits as well.
Vitamin E comes from nuts and seeds. So we're really looking at that original whole food diet, and it's, what is that? Meats, fruits, vegetables, nuts and seeds, healthy fats. Last thing we've got is vitamin B. Organ meats. So if you can eat some organ meats on a weekly basis, chicken, beef, and maybe even some kidneys in there, you're going to be feeding your adrenals really beneficial vitamin B. Other things that are needed are minerals. So calcium, zinc, manganese, selenium, and iodine. These are all stress-relieving and calming minerals and are needed to keep you in a state so your adrenals aren't working quite as hard. You can get minerals from bone broth. And instead of having to worry with, well, how many supplements do I need and what kind's the best, instead go to Whole Foods again. And not the store. But with this, we're going to make a homemade bone broth. And with bone broth, you're going to be getting all the minerals that you need. And we're going to discuss that here in just a minute as well.